Steve Rosenblum.
Are we done after? That's it. Oh, okay, good. Okay, I'm here actually representing a mutual friend of Richard's and mine, Tina Gooden, who is lives in Florida, and she asked me to read this. It is with sincere regret that I am unable to attend the special memorial for my dear friend Richard. I am deeply saddened about his passing and frankly find it hard to believe he is no longer with us. He and I had been friends for decades and shared our passion for music and for psychoanalysis. We spent many an hour doing piano and sax or piano and clarinet duos and covered some wonderful repertoire. He moved so easily from saxophone to clarinet, as easily as he meandered from the classics to jazz. He was a talented man. Richard was responsible for introducing me to many fine psychoanalysts in the United States that have become longtime friends and remain so to this day. He so encouragingly invited me to join the highly regarded music and psychoanalysis group that has contributed significantly to creating dialogue between psychoanalysts and musicians. We attended many APA, that's the American Psychoanalytic Association, meetings together, enjoying them, critiquing them, and just having a good time. He knew well how to question ideas, discuss their pros and cons, adapting with aplomb to impossible conflicts, and settling for what was possible. He was patient and understanding, and often in the face of the most difficult situations. As he had no family in Montreal, we invited him to all our children's bar mitzvahs and weddings, Passover seders, and high holiday lunches and dinners. And he always attended. We welcomed him as a member of our family and enjoyed every minute of it. Our children loved him. Just 10 days before he passed away, he called, and we had another one of our great and lengthy conversations. He sounded hopeful and eager to move forward with his life. We talked about his coming to stay with us perhaps in February or March. As I was about to call him to wish him a happy birthday, I received the shocking news of his death. I have been heavy-hearted since then, and it will take some time before his loss is integrated, but I want you all to know that Richard was one of the finest and kindest people one could ever hope to know, that he cared deeply for everyone he met, and he touched the lives of more people than one realizes, and that he loved the beauty of music, of psychoanalysis, and Jewish people. My life has been meaningfully enriched for having known him, and I hope I enriched his life as well. May his soul rest in peace.
Can we have a little light back there?
Before I get to my dedication, there's a few things I want to do, which are of musical nature, and Richard would have been very interested in. We have a number of different sort of commemorative events for him. My own band, the Karmel Standard Band, will be playing at Shaika this Friday night, and I promise to drag out as many of Richard's compositions that I can find in between seeing all my patients and supervising his interns and doing all kinds of other stuff. Gideon and I have organized a special jam session night at Upstairs. That's next Monday night, the 31st, and we welcome all of you to come out. We're trying to get all kinds of musicians to come out and play, and it should be an interesting evening. So those are the, I guess, some of the musical events that will be taking place around this. I hope to work with Pierre and put together an album of Richard's music and distribute it at some point in the near future. I have to say as well that I am very upset with Richard because he and I were supposed to do another album together, and I had to call in the last minute and get a sub for him, and you know, he could have been playing better than my sub. In any event, okay, I'll go on to my own dedication here. I first met Richard when he and I both started psychoanalytic training at the Institute in 1977. We were quick to learn that we had a number of things in common. For one, we were both psychologists in a largely psychiatric body of students. As well, we were both saxophone players who had a particular passion for jazz that later on would take us down the path of musical collaborations, which continued until his sudden death last month. In some way, I would like to impart to you what my good friend Richard was all about and how he became an enabler for both my psychoanalytic and musical careers. So let me start by saying that the Richard I knew was passionate about three things. He was passionate about many other things, as I learned tonight, but he used to talk to me basically about three things: psychoanalysis, the dissemination of psychoanalytic knowledge, which he imparted by his beloved psychology internship program. And I have to tell you, Richard talked about that psychology internship program nonstop and was always checking other places across Canada and the United States to only realize that there wasn't anything like it. He was very proud of it. And music of all kinds. I must add that, as you will come to see, our direct relationship emerged around jazz composition and performance. His interest in Latin American music and klezmer were things he would occasionally talk to me about, but pursued as separate interests. Before continuing my story, I will say that Richard and I developed a relationship that involved our meeting for lunch on Fridays, which started about 25 years ago and continued up until the Friday before his death. Friends and family here have offered many fine tributes tonight, but I will offer an image of Richard, the facilitator and the collaborator, which powerfully influenced my own life and career. I came to psychoanalytic training from a career in CEGEP teaching in a psychology department. In 1982, just about the time of my graduation from the Psychoanalytic Institute, Richard approached me one day with a proposition. He told me that the psychotherapy teaching for interns at the Montreal General needed improvement, and how would I like to meet his chief, the chief of psychiatry, Dr. Alan Mann, to give me a tryout. Okay? The tryout, which involved teaching a few classes and supervising residents, were both successful, and this launched my career in the teaching and supervision of psychiatric residents and psychology interns, which has lasted 28 years and has been one of the most gratifying experiences in my adult life. Meanwhile, on the music front, Richard and I were moving in parallel directions. I had the good fortune of having a number of my compositions arranged and played by orchestras at McGill, resulting in my getting airtime on the CBC. Richard was always observant of these things. He always liked big-time stuff. So that's how I started to get into his good books. Richard and I both began to study composition with Christopher Smith, who unfortunately could not make it tonight but sends his condolences. Down the hall here at the Hop Shop, one day in 1992, Richard approached me with another of his propositions. He suggested that we do a recording with professional musicians, both of our compositions, and added a sweetener by recommending that we use a composition which I had dedicated to alto saxophonist Dave Turner, entitled Last Call at Cafe Alto. That summer, I met Dave Turner at the Toronto Jazz Festival, and he agreed to a project which became a jazz duet featuring himself and Ray Downs on piano. John, the first slide, please.